In this video, we're going to configure this switch to be dual stack. Dual stack means that it has both IPv6 and IPv4 addresses on it. And so in this case right here, it is a switch port. So we are not going to configure all of our ports to be IPv6 routed ports. They're all switch ports. But what we can configure is the management interface, which at this point in time is VLAN 1. So let's take a look at that first. I'm going to type in show run, and we're going to take a look at interface VLAN 1 because that's where the management interface is at. And we see that there is an IP address associated with it. So what I want to do is I want to associate an IPv6 address to it. The first thing that I need to do is activate IPv6 address on this device. So I'm going to do that in the global configuration mode, and I'm going to type in SDM prefer, and it's going to be IP version 4, excuse me, it's going to be dual dash IP version 4 dash and dash IPv6. So it's quite crazy there. And we're going to set that as being the default operation. So we hit enter, and now it's going to configure it. Now, I've actually already done this on the switch. Otherwise, it would pop up with some notification letting us know that it is now configured. Once we've done that, we would need to do a reload on this server. So I type in reload to do a reload on the server. Now, as I mentioned before, we aren't going. I've already gone through this process, so we don't need to do that at this point in time. All right, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into the interface to configure it. So I'm going to get into the global configuration mode, get into interface VLAN 1, and now I'm in the interface and I can assign it IPv6 address. Just like the routed interface, there's some commands that it can do with this, like IPv6 enable, in which case it would just create a local link address on this device so then it can communicate on the local network. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and type in enable for that to pop up there. And then I'm going to do show IPv6 interface brief, and we can see that it has created a local link address on VLAN 1. So now it can communicate. But my network has and remember it has to have that local link for IPv6 to operate. So even if we were to just create a regular IPv6 address, unicast address on this device, which we're going to do in a second, that would show up in that network right there. So, all right, next what we're going to do is configure an IPv6 address on here, and what we want is somewhere within our range, which is FC00:1:12 is the one I'm going to assign to this switch. And then we're going to be the / prefix length, which is 64. If I wanted to type in, do an EUI 64 address, then I would just leave the 12 off of here and then type in EUI 64 at the end of this. But I don't want to do a EUI 64. So I am going to actually want to just assign it to 12, and I hit enter on that, and then I'm going to do my show IP interface or IPv6 interface brief, hit enter, and now that we see both of those are now assigned to this device, and if I wanted to try to communicate out, I could ping FC00:1:3. It should be a pingable address, and I'm in one of the submenus, so I have to type in do at the beginning of that, and it's successful. So now we have now configured this interface with IPv6 address on it. And this is mainly just at this point in time, just as a management interface, so I'd be able to get to this device using IPv6.